Hey Paula, I'm so excited that you could join me and just be here with me, because this is the first of the recordings that I've done. So thank you so much for coming along. And
you are so welcome.
Today I would love us to talk about doulas, because you're a doula, yeah?
Yes, I am indeed. Yeah, I've been a doula for 10 years now.
Nice. So come on, tell me all about what is a doula, because I do the mums group and lots of mums have said to me, because it's a fairly new thing, isn't it? And lots of people are really intrigued about what the word is. And I suppose if you're not a mum, or you're a new mum, or you're just pregnant, it might be something that you're interested in. So yeah, I would love you to tell us more about it.
Well, it's funny because you say it's a new thing. I think doulas are as old as the hills in some shape or form. It's just really women supporting other women. So we are part of a lay movement of birth supporters. So we're not employed by the NHS and we work independently from them. But what we bring to birth is a sense of continuity, which is really missing from the maternity services at the moment. So I think the need for doulas has become more apparent in the last few years. So we will accompany pregnant women on their, often when they've just peed on the stick and emailed us or rung us up to say, please, can you help? And often they've had a very traumatic experience or unsatisfactory experience of giving birth before. So they're looking for someone to be alongside them for the journey as they sort of navigate their way through the maternity services and what's being offered.
Amazing. So you really are a woman to support women.
Absolutely, or all birthing people, because we must remember that in 2021 not everyone who gives birth identifies as female. So yeah, I mean, I support people from all walks of life. I've worked with engineers, military folk. There's no one particular type of person who hires us. It's really fascinating. People from all parts of the spectrum of life, because everybody, whoever you are, needs and wants support at such a precious and also quite vulnerable time of your life.
Totally. So I have to be completely honest with everyone, really, don't I, and say that you were my doula. And I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to sort of share about doulas, because it was just so important for me to have one, and not just one, but you, obviously. It was so lovely to have you there, and that, like you say, that continuity when I sort of had gone into labour, to know that you were going to come through the door, to know the person that was going to come through the door was just
absolutely
such a relief.
And women these days are often just seeing so many faces at so many different appointments, and they just feel dizzy, and they want to have that one friendly face, that one person who they don't have to explain the same things over and over and over each time they see them. Someone who really gets their journey and they can bounce off their thoughts, feelings, fears, instincts. Sometimes their deepest instincts are going against the pathway that's being laid ahead of them, and they just need somebody to sound off and just say, this just doesn't feel right to me. What can I do about this? What are my options? And that's the point where I'm signposting, so that they can find out what all their options are, so that they're not feeling like they've just got to walk down this one pathway that's being suggested to them. Sometimes I might choose that pathway out of a whole bunch of things that are available, but we just open doors and windows and show people that there's not just
options.
one way to do things.
Totally. And that is amazing. And I think that's the thing, the fact that you work in birth, but you aren't, like you say, sort of tied to the NHS. You're not tied to one particular way of doing things. So obviously you've got lots of interests and lots of things that you can bring from lots of different modalities to help and be able to, like you say, I suppose, connect with a really wide range of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And doulas are quite well connected, full stop, you know. We're members of various different organisations simultaneously. We're constantly researching, reading, sharing information, talking to midwives, and you know, we kind of tapped into all these different networks of what's going on in the birth world. So yeah, that's something that collectively we can all bring to our clients, you know, that collective knowledge that they can tap into, not just one person.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that, and you said like the birth world, because I think it is quite easy to forget that there are lots of different ways of doing things when you go, you know, to see the midwife and you see the doctor, and it is very much like, yeah, their perspective, and it's that one way, like you say. So it must, yeah, it's lovely to know that there are other options. You did say at the beginning how long you've been a doula for. How long have you been a doula for, and what made you, how did you end up sort of realizing that was the job for you?
Well, I guess it was the birth of my fourth child at home, and the resistance that I'd had moving up to this area. I was in Lincolnshire, on the Lincolnshire borders at the time, and I thought, God, you know, why is this all such a battle? Why am I having to struggle to get, you know, the kind of birth that I want to have? I never had this kind of resistance where I lived before, and the doctors and everyone was so supportive. What's changed apart from that I'm now, you know, a couple of years older, and I had such a positive birth experience, but I had to fight for everything that, you know, how I wanted it to be. And I thought, gosh, you know, it would be really great to be someone who's helping other women who perhaps don't feel as confident in themselves as I did, to be able to stick up for myself and stick to my guns about, you know, following my deepest instincts. Wouldn't it be great to help other women to feel that confident too, and you know, to help them to really stand in their own power, because we're so discouraged, I think, from doing that. At every turn it feels that we're infantilized and sort of expected to just be obedient good little girls and do what we're told. And you know, we're having babies. We've had sex. We're grown-ups.
I love how you say that, because as well, like you said, it was your fourth child, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? When it's your first one, it's so much like you just don't realize that there's another way. Obviously I've only got one child, so my first one was like, it was really, it's just quite intense, isn't it? There's so much information everywhere, and it is very much like there is this one way of doing it. So I suppose, like you say, by the time you've had 4 children, you know that there are lots of different ways of doing it, that it can go, and actually that, the best experiences you had were when you were empowered. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. You know, confidence is really key, and I think I can't remember who it was that said that, but it's most important to get the first birth right. And what I mean by that is that the woman is not traumatized by her experience. She isn't left with, you know, really deep scars that aren't always visible. And if we can get that first birth right, then everything that follows after that is easier to navigate.
That's awesome. Yeah, totally. And I have to admit that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have a doula, was because I could just had this idea of, I wanted to have a home birth, obviously, but it's like the idea of being in a hospital, which it might, you know, I had to sort of be open to all possibilities that might have ended up that way. And
we did talk about that, didn't we? You know,
totally.
We talked about birth plans A, B, C, and D.
D and E, yeah. And that was the thing, the idea of being in a hospital and being in labour, which I'd never been before, so not knowing how it was going to feel, all this kind of stuff, and then people asking me or telling me stuff, I just couldn't imagine having to sort of navigate things that I didn't know about on my own whilst in that sort of, you know, whilst in labour. So that was sort of one of the reasons why I, you know, wanted to have a doula. And thank you. But it's like, are there, I suppose, like you said, there's many different reasons to have a doula. What do you think are the benefits of having a doula?
Well, if you really want to know, go and look at my testimonials page, because, you know, there are some really detailed descriptions in there of all the things that I do for couples, and it's really nice to see like what dads have to say as well, because, you know, we are there primarily for the mother, but we do support the dads, and often, you know, they are even more needing of a doula. You know, because they feel that little bit more disconnected perhaps from the circle of talk, birth talk. And so, yeah, the benefits of a doula, I could talk probably for a whole podcast just about that. I'm slightly biased, so it really, the main one is continuity of care.
Nice. And so, and what would you say were the main kind of differences then to sort of giving birth with a doula and giving birth without a doula?
I think if you're giving birth with a doula by your side, you are probably very well informed of all of your options. You have an extra pair of hands there to do really random practical things. I mean, you tell me, Robyn. I was your doula.
Totally.
I possibly did things at your birth that you probably hadn't even
no
thought
idea about.
Yeah. And sometimes we just don't know what will be needed until the day. I've done like the weirdest things for couples that, you know, were just absolutely appropriate and right on the day. You know, I've been to Tesco's and bought pajamas for a dad, or a t-shirt, because it was the third day in a row of him being in hospital, and, you know, he was starting to stink.
Like you say, it is those things, isn't it? And I think that you sort of often think about doulas as being just there for the birth, but you are there for before and after as well, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. The days, the weeks after, I'm there sometimes chatting to mums at, you know, 1 a.m. We're having conversations about breastfeeding, you know, that she can't have with anybody else at that time of night. And sometimes, you know, there just isn't anybody available to talk about that sort of stuff, even that day or that week, you know. So we're sort of plugging in some of the gaps of what's missing in the NHS offerings, and that's not any individual's faults. It's just we're in the middle of a really bad staffing crisis at the moment, and so doulas are sort of picking up some of the slack of you know, what the NHS just cannot feasibly do, with all the will in the world, with all the talented midwives that are working within it. You know, they're too exhausted, they're stretched really thin, and they just can't do it all. So yeah, it's sad that people are having to pay to go, you know, and get that support from elsewhere, but we're here. And we do payment plans. You know, I do try and be as affordable as I can for people, and I do personally, I offer discounts to people on benefits. You know, I want to be I want doulas to be as accessible as we can be for everyone that needs one. So was that the question? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's great. No, it's wonderful. It's all good. No, it's really lovely to hear your thoughts. I'm attempting to keep this fairly short today, because I know like we could talk about this for a really long time. But it's sort of, the idea is just a little bit of a taster into the world of doulas and doulaing, so that we can harvest some questions on people, and you can sort of tell us more specifics to what people want to know about. So thank you so much for coming along and talking doulaing.
I hope I've been looking at the right camera. It's so tricky to get the hang of where to look.
Totally. And it's crazy how dark it's getting. I feel like I'm getting just, disappearing into obscurity over here.
Totally. Yeah. Just really quickly, if people are in Norfolk and they're looking for a doula, norfolkdoulas.co.uk is a good place to go and have a nosy around, go and see which doulas are listed there, and just generally find out more about us all.
So there is lots of doulas really that exist, and they're quite easy to find. It's not, it's
and if one doula can't cover a woman's due month because we've already got clients or whatever, we will always refer to other doulas and say, hey, I'm not available, or maybe I'm not the right doula for you for this particular specialism, for this particular situation. Perhaps it's someone who's having twins, or we just know another doula is just absolutely perfect for that couple. We're not sort of there's no ego here about how we're helping. We just want to make sure that between us all as a network, everybody gets the help that they want and need and deserve.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely recommend doulas because it was a real a big changer for me, and it's really interesting my partner as well. One of the things, because obviously after I'd given birth at home, he said he walked into the bathroom and he's like, just walk straight out again, which, bless him, is quite a man thing to do, isn't it? No judgment there at all, bless him. But yeah, and then anyway, when he walked back in later, it was perfect. So I believe, like you say, the things that you did that I had absolutely no idea about because I was in a different room, but I think that you'd basically turned our house from being like a bit of a bomb site into just my home, which I didn't even notice. So yeah, I went into the labour land and came back and it was all spotless.
Well, these are the things that matter. It isn't all about cuddling and cooing and fussing over babies. That's not why we go into this. We want to help families to be as strong and supported as they can be in those first minutes and hours. It was such a pleasure to be your doula. I loved every minute.
Oh, it was amazing to have you there, so thank you so much. But yeah, and thank you so much for today, spending this time with us, and we'll be in touch soon with lots of questions, and hopefully we'll hear from you again soon.
I look forward to it.